And finally, welcome back to my channel. So firstly, I want to say sorry to all of you because my last video is from a really long time ago, and this happened because I graduated and had to really focus hard on studying, and strangely enough I managed to obtain the best grade possible. But when I had free time, I kept making dolls, and so all the footage you are going to see are pretty old. But let's talk about the video. So I think that many people have already recognized this particular symbol, and in fact today we're gonna talk about Attack on Titan. Yes, I'm absolutely out of trend considering that the 4th season and the manga finished a long time ago, but as I said before, I was studying. So talking about my journey with AOT, when the 1st season dropped, I didn't want to watch it because I was like, oh no, it's too much mainstream, so it will probably be terrible. Shame on me, because as soon as I tried to watch it, I fell in love. And even if I really liked the beginning, like the 1st season, as soon as all the politics aspects came, I liked it more and more. And at the beginning I only watched the anime, but after all this time I really wanted to know the end. So I started reading the manga, and unpopular opinion, I don't think that Isayama's drawings are so bad. It's like a style, I don't know. And sincerely speaking, I still don't really know my opinion on the ending. Let's say that I'm pretty much in the middle. But talking about the character I'm going to do today, so my favorite characters have always been Armin and Levi. And even if I really like and think that probably Armin is a bit more my ideal character because of his wisdom, calm, and sensibility in general, and he had a pretty strong character design change in the new season, and I pretty liked it. I decided to do Levi because character design wise, you know, it's Levi. But jokes aside, I think Levi is one of the most interesting and well-written characters in the manga, not only because I'm always drawn into characters with a complex past and that are pretty edgy and badass in a sense, but I really think that his relationship with all of his partners is always amazing, like the one with Petra's group, but also with Erwin, that is another of my favorite characters. And I have to say another million things about Levi, AOT in general, but I think I talk too much, so let's finally move on to the making of the doll. First of all, I want to do a shout out to the amazing DOS brand new look that did a marvelous Mikasa doll, also doing all the instruments for the 3D movement that I pretty much avoided making for my mental sanity. So, as always, the first thing I had to do is choose the right doll. And even if I think that Jimin's jawline is absolutely identical to Levi's, Suga's sculpt is a bit more neutral and similar to a generic anime character, so I choose him. Then I started prepping the doll, and tell me if these aren't identical to Bokuto's from IQ. Then I removed the hair to make him more similar to Tanaka from IQ. Then I also removed the face paint using acetone and started sanding the face to create the famous jawline I talked about earlier. In the process, the sculpt totally opened, and so I saw it close, so I'm sure it won't reopen. Then I painted the part in which the hair will be in black and grey. Then I switched to the body because, how I say this, our Levi is not exactly on the tall side, so I decided to remove a part from his legs. So, always protecting me with a mask, I traced the part and cutted them. I removed the parts that were unnecessary. And to unit everything, we switch the cutting tip to the drill tip and make a hole in all the parts. And use epoxy glue and some wire to connect everything. Then I covered the crack with some 2-part epoxy sculpt and smoothed everything with water. And sanded all the lumpy parts. And at this point the tragedy happened. So I'm pretty clumsy, and basically I made my camera fall from the really high tripod with the lens part in front, and basically it broke and couldn't focus anymore. So from now on the footage will be a lot less good quality because they're made with my phone, yeah! So after this I finished the legs by color matching them. And now I really had to take a deep breath because we are gonna make the 9000 parts and bits that compose Levi's outfit. So first of all, I'm doing some patterns to have tightly fitted pants, and I thought I was a genius creating this technique based on using some scrap fabric and sewing it really near the legs and cutting it to have the right shapes to trace. But as you can see, it didn't go as I planned, so at the end I basically freehanded the pattern. Then I took some satin that I hemmed at the top and bottom and connected the pieces first at the crotch part, and then I closed the two legs. And folded everything to the right side. Then for the shirt, I took some white stretchy fabric and connected the pieces firstly on the top, and then the sleeves. All by hand and in a really not precise way because my machine doesn't go well with stretchy fabrics. Then I close all the sides and flipped also it. And then hemmed all the rough edges. And also added a collar on the top that I advise you to hem because mine keep wanting to fray. And now, because they are in a too perfect and pristine white, we are gonna use some water and black fabric color to stain them a bit. And then I added a closure to both of them. Now that we made the base of the outfit, let's relax a bit working on something else, like the hair. So I used some yarn and removed a little part from it, because with the majority I did some wefts. Then I took the grey yarn and started cutting it to create some flock that we'll use later. And with the hair that I removed before, we're gonna reroute the head. And I'm sliding a little bit of them on a needle cut at an angle and set it inside a hand drill. And I'm doing this because Levi has a bit of a widow's peak like Mima from the previous video, and so I'm rerouting only some part of the hair to obtain that effect. So after doing the part, we do the front line, and to set everything we use some glue. So, because I wanted to make the forehead bigger, I placed the hair higher, and this left some holes that I'm gonna cover with some epoxy sculpt. And after sculpting and smoothing really well, I'm gonna color match it, firstly with this nonsensically enormous brush for this job that I switched to a more little and precise one. To make the shoes that I completely had to figure out on my own, I started with the original shoes the dog came with, and I removed all the details, firstly with an X-Acto and then by sanding them. Then I made some strange shapes with foam and heated them with my hair straightener to shape them as I want. And glued them in place. Then I took some stretchy fabric and sewed it like if they were socks. Then I'm removing some excess and turning everything to the right side. And as you can not see really well, there are some extra parts that I'm attaching with super glue to the shoes we sanded before. And then I also glued it to the strange shape at the top. And there are them completed. Well, I also sculpted the soles with epoxy, but the footage were all like this. So the last thing I had to do is paint the soles in brown. Coming back to the clothes, I did his skirt. I really don't know what that is, but I made it gluing together two gathered pieces of fabric and adding some snap buttons at the back. For the jacket, I cutted all these pieces and used fray check on every single edge. Because satin frays frequently. So, firstly I connected these pieces together to make a sort of lining, and I left an opening to flip everything to the right side. Then I ironed everything really flat. And then I connected the pieces at the top like before. Then I think there are some footage missing because I already connected the sleeves and everything together, and now we have only to flip everything right side like we did pretty much with everything. Then I'm also connecting the collar, doing the lining thing as before, and I also lost some footage here because I also connected the collar and ironed the front part to create a sort of other collar in the front. So let's jump right away to the making process of the cape. So firstly I made a really rough pattern on kitchen paper because it's more soft and malleable, so it's more similar to fabric than normal paper, and after a quick try it wasn't so bad, so I traced it on fabric. So first of all I'm closing this part on the hood and making the same thing 2 times. Then I connect them like so. Then I also connected these two cape parts, leaving only the upper part open. I iron everything and connect the pieces at the top. And then I added a snap button as a closure. But now we have to do a really important accessories for everything, the symbol of the Scouting Legion, and I'm going to paint it on fabric with some fabric paint. And because we are in team, what corpse would you have chosen? I think that, all hypocrisy aside, I'm not a courageous person at all, but I'm not a piece of garbage, so I think I would have stayed safe in the stationary guard. And if you're messy like me, at one point you'll find yourself with the ends like this. And finally, here it is done. And if you thought that it was tiny, here are two even tinier ones. And I'm attaching the bigger ones on the back of the cape and jacket, and the tiny one on the pockets. Alongside these little grades thingies on the shoulders. And then we have to add buttons to pretty much everything. And to finish everything fabric made, I almost forgot his neck handkerchief that I made with these two pieces of gathered fabric. Then we jump to another part of the process, the face up, and I'm starting it with some pastels to give color to the lips and also cheeks, but I don't really think this does much because my pastels don't really stick to doll heads. Then I have to show you this unboxing I was super excited about. Look at them, finally I can make decent fine lines. So firstly I'm doing the white of the eyes, and sincerely I know that Levi is a much more complex character and I love when he shows different sides of his personality, but I stick it to his angry and badass expression, and you'll see it in a bit. Then I outlined the crease of the lips and painted the finest eyebrows you'll ever seen. And in fact I messed them quite a lot, even with the magic brushes. So maybe the problem is me? Then I did this high color, doing a gradient from dark to light grey. And started the outlines with black, pretty much everything. And I have to say that even if I love Levi, obviously, I didn't watch it yet, the OAK in all this time, and I really don't know why. Did you recommend it? And then I'm also doing all these black lines that are in his design, and I think are meant to give him the angry expression. And now to add some details and dimension, I'm doing a grey shadow to the white part of his eyes. And what is your favorite Levi's design? The one we had so far for the first 3 seasons, or the one we had for the last season? I think I stick with the classic because I generally like much more the old animation, even if the new one isn't really bad. And after doing some outlines to the pupil, I'm finally freeing him from the head wrap and glossing the lip part to make them seem wet. And I have to say, I'm pretty satisfied with the face, because I found it pretty similar to him. But now, because I'm pretty much jumping from one thing to another, let's finish his hair. So I'm taking some glue and attaching the grey flock we made before on the part of the hair that is supposed to be shaved. And I didn't even notice it, but there is quite a lot of it. So I attached a pretty massive bunch, and when the glue is dry, I remove the bigger excess by hand and the tiny part with a toothbrush. And guys, little interaction because I finally have my camera back. And basically the guy that adjusts them did to the lens the move they do in the film when they broke the neck to someone.
Snap. Just like that.
And so I finally can have better footages. So now I'm attaching the proper wefts with some hot glue. And progressively cutting them to the right length for every layer. Then I made everything flat with a wet toothbrush. And kept gluing till I reached the part. And now we have this mess to work with, so we comb it and start separating the part. After cutting the front part, I'm heating a crochet and a knife to style and make everything flat. And to flat everything even more, I wrapped the hair with plastic wrap, and after a night or so I removed it. And now it's time to do all the little pieces of the armor, so I cutted some shapes in fan foam and also a bigger piece for the back plates that I heated with a candle to be able to shape it on his back. Then I painted everything with the right colors, always managing to make the biggest mess possible, and now I'm taking a brown ribbon that I'll attach to the various pieces. I attached this belt to the brown skirt thing. And now I started attaching all the ribbons in the right pattern. Always doing the same things to the other leg. And I don't want to know how difficult it is to put on all this stuff every morning. Killing giants must be nothing in comparison of this struggle. And we use some hot glue to attach all the pieces from before. Then I also glued all the hanging ribbons. And also the plate, making all the ribbons go to the front. Then I painted some buckles that I added basically everywhere. And also made a wire one for the belt. And now I promise you this is the final detail. So I said I didn't make all the 3D movement things, but at least I made 2 swords. And I made the handle with some Fimo, and to be true I recorded the whole process, but it was really long, so here it is me making the final detail. And when we are done with the handles, let's make the blades with some plastic. And I used some shrink plastic because it is really sturdy but really thin. Then I painted everything firstly with some slightly metallic silver paint. And then used some brown on the handles. Then I attached everything together. And here are my 2 swords, and I'm quite satisfied with them because they are pretty detailed. And now we can finally assemble everything, and this felt like a month of work, but guess what, it was even more. So we firstly attached the handkerchief, then the boots, the jacket, that unfortunately is a little tight, but we make it work, the cape, then I almost forgot his hands. And because this is not a Sleepy Hollow inspired doll, we had also our head that I heated on the bottom using the nozzle of a glue gun, so I'm not actually filling it with glue, but only making the head softer. Then we had these words. And here is LEVI ACKERMAN. So I'm really happy I finally managed to make you see this doll, because I actually finished a long time ago, as I said, and at the end it was really calming to keep making doll, even if I had the pressure of school, and I think it turned out quite well. I managed to make a lot of details, and the thing I like the most, strangely, because many times is the part I have more problem with, is actually the face, because I think he's pretty handsome. In fact, we have here another handsome guy like Howl, so the pressure was much, but I think I managed to capture his essence in some way, and I hope you also liked him. And now I also want to know what is your favorite character from Attack on Titan, and obviously know what you think about my doll. Have a nice day, and bye!